Can't post messages to send. Hello, welcome to EaseDrop with Christina and Evelyn.
Hey,
We are going where the conversation takes us. We appreciate you joining us. And tonight we are talking about
well, tonight we're just gonna discuss how if people really change. Because sometimes you have friends who, or it could be of any relationship. You may have boyfriend, cousin, aunt, uncle, any relationship where there's that one thing about that person that just irks your nerves, like that just will drive you crazy. And it's like, why do they do that? And it's like, and you even question, I know for me, I've questioned, like, is that something that's acceptable or is that just a part of who they are? And is it something that I should expect them to change or continue to, be bugged out by, what they're doing as far as that goes. So, and I want to know, like, over time, do people really change?
well, I think people do change, and I think they change in their own time. I think people have to be internally motivated to change. I tell you, I think that, and I hate to go to the relationship route, but I think a lot of times in relationships, people try to get their significant other, friend, or whoever to change by threatening them and trying to, I'm going to leave you. If you don't start doing this or stop doing this, it's going to be a problem. Well, my thing is, when you try to externally motivate somebody to do something, they might change for a minute. And I was told anybody can be anybody they need to be for a little bit. So when you try to give people ultimatums, yeah, they might change, but then they're going to revert back to being the same old person they were because that's not who they want to be. They don't see it as a problem if they're forced to do so. So yeah, I believe people can change. I just don't think we can manipulate people into changing.
Well, what happens when people don't want to change? Because some people seem like they just don't care to change. And I feel like if this is a problem with you and many people, it's not just a problem that we have, but it's an issue. Why wouldn't a person want to change that? Like, you're causing issues in other people. It's like, it seems like there's some social dysfunction there at that point. Like there's some social disabilities because, like, do you not understand that you are causing havoc in different areas of your life with different people? So it must be an issue.
But what happened to accept me as I am? Because truth be told, while you and your mama and your sister, your brother, whoever, while they might not like who I am, I bet I can find some peers or some other people that's similar to me and they are okay. They may be okay with who I am. I just want to take a minute to welcome Felicia, Miss Smith, and Sharon. Thank you guys for joining us. Feel free to comment anytime you feel the urge. But again, so I think people's behaviors, their attitudes, and all that can be a problem. But a lot of times it's more of a problem for other people than it is for them. So yeah, I don't think people are going to change until they're ready. And I was telling someone this morning, I said, well, look, you can give people feedback about what you see, things they can change, ways they can improve. I mean, think about it. People have given me feedback throughout my life. And at that point in my life, I could not see what they were trying to tell me about me. Either I wasn't ready, couldn't accept it, or didn't know how to make the change. So I just kept it moving. Now, those people may be long gone out of my life when it hits me like, dang, now I see what they meant. I see what they were talking about. So it just may take some time, but people change when they are ready to change. So, and I don't think there's anything we can do about that. So, yeah, we can reflect things for people, tell them what we see, but to try to make someone change and give people ultimatums, I don't think that works.
Well, I mean, it's just like if people are saying something to you about the same thing and it's a problem, why? What would close a person down and not have them want to change? Like, I feel like people should want to grow all the time. I think reflection is very important. I feel like as far as spiritual growth, reflection is very important. That's it's like going through 3 months of school, going through lessons 3 through 15, and then you have a finals to see. Let's reflect back and see what you have learned. Let's see what you have done. And it's like some people, it's like, why aren't you trying to grow and learn when obviously a lot of people have something to say? That should be a sign. That should be a sign. If the whole world is telling you, reflecting back to you, that they see some issues here, and I hear what you're saying about the not being able to see, because there are some things that you're just not able to see. But some things, I feel like with certain people, it's like, okay, you don't want to, and why?
Okay. Now, Christina, you are exaggerating. The whole world is not telling one person that they have a problem with their behavior. That's just not happening. Again, while you may see a problem, their friends or whomever may not see a problem with their behavior. So then you know who the problem is, and you know who at that point needs to change, you. And that's how they're going to see it. They're going to see you as the problem, not them. Oh, she just bougie, or oh, she just like that, or she don't know this. I mean, you then become the problem. Miss Felicia said, I believe if a person gets some satisfaction from their behavior, they won't want to change, right or wrong.
That's a good one.
That's
really good.
Yeah. So it's like happy people don't change. If you're content, I have no reason to change. So if the way I'm living my life, the way I do things, if, again, like she's saying, if there's some satisfaction in it for me, and you're the only one causing me problems for being who I am, guess what? You are the problem.
But that's the thing, is I'm saying certain people, and I know I said the whole world, well, of course I was exaggerating, but right. I mean, as far as like multiple, like in this relationship, and that friendship. Like,
can you speak up a little bit?
Huh?
Can you speak up a little bit? You're in and out.
I was saying, do I sound better now?
Yes.
I was saying with this friendship, with that relationship, with that partnership, like, especially like when you see it in different areas of your life. It's like, I know, because I know I had a friend who had this issue, and then like as I got to know like her circle of people, it's like in other ways it would come up. It's like the same issue, and it's like, girl, get it together.
But we talk about change. Some people, as you were doing earlier, equate change to growth. But again, sometimes people don't know how to change. And sometimes they're just not ready, because I think change can be scary, because change requires you to move out of your comfort zone. It requires you to do something different, maybe to think different, to be different. And everyone, one, doesn't always know how to do that. And two, again, it's scary.
It sounds like people get stuck in their patterns and they get addicted to the way that they live, and they get stuck. And it's like so when they go into recovery mode and they do see themselves and they do put in the work to change and do better, do they ever really change if they have to work and work and work to get there? Are they the same person that's just putting on or putting work in and could backslide?
Well, I think I think when people are ready to make the change, then they commit to that change. and they're ready to do what they need to do. Miss J says, if we spend our lives comfortable, where is the room for growth? And I think that's what we're saying, that you're gonna have to move out of the comfort zone if you want to experience some growth. But not everyone is ready to grow for whatever reason. They're just not ready. And for people say, accept me as I am. So at what point do you accept me and my flaws and love me anyway versus trying to make me change?
Let me ask you this. Do you think that people go through their entire lives and just don't change? Like some people, do you think they just get stuck and never want more?
I mean, it's a hard way.
Or they want more, but they don't do anything to ever do anything about getting out of any situation because they're so stagnant with every bits of their life that they don't want any change.
I don't know. I guess that's possible, but it's hard to believe that would be the case, because I think as we live our lives, we learn, we reflect on what we've learned, we reflect on our hurt and pain. And when we think about it like this, like looking at Miss J, she said relapse is a part of the process. Backsliding is a part of the process. I just relapsed for the first time in 6 months the other day. So does that mean I'm back to the bottom? No. You just pick back up and you keep going. So and I agree with that. When we're trying to make a change and then painful things happen, something happened in our lives, then it's easy to go back to what we're comfortable with. That's the easy part. But it's like when you go through some stuff, those things force you to take a look at some stuff. Like if my life I'm just breezing by, then I never have to reflect on anything because life is good.
Right.
So
you're right. I think that's why when you live life here in this time, on this plane, on this earth right now, in this moment, I think that this is the very reason that we go through so many things. It's like you go through test and test and test because it's going to make you stronger. Everything you go through is building your muscle, it's giving you power, it's giving you what you need to be where you need to go. And I think it takes a lot of that. So I think there's different levels to your personal growth and development. I mean, I could say that I've even seen like mean people sad, or like, that maybe some people that's really hyper, they even bring it down some, because I think that there has to be a balance of change, and some areas need to be stagnant, but
and I think some of it is just as you mature and you get older, some things just don't matter anymore. Some things aren't worth fighting for anymore. Miss Jones says people might not reach optimal potential, but it's impossible to live and have no change. And I'm agreeing with her. I just think life forces you to come to bridges where you stop and you reflect and you make a decision. Even if you don't make a complete 180, I think there's going to be some change. And I want to welcome Mr. Burrs to the conversation. And he says there are people who don't want to change, and there are different reasons for their stagnation. So then the question is, can there be some change and stagnation at the same time?
I think you have to have that. There has to be certain areas, because if you change too much at one time, I think that just drives you crazy.
Right.
I don't know if anybody can handle all. I mean, people can, because that does happen to some people where their whole world is just. I
think what happens is, like, maybe as a person, maybe I become stagnant. Maybe I don't learn to be in healthy relationships. Maybe I don't learn to communicate effectively. But then professionally, I'm just moving. You understand what I mean? And that's why I was saying, can there be stagnation and change at the same time? So then we have to start looking at the different life domains, and we may be exceeding and changing and growing in some areas, but then there are other areas where we still may be struggling.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely have our strengths and weaknesses. We definitely have strengths and weaknesses. Yeah.
So then here's my question, because I want to get to the should we ask people to change. So do you believe that people are doing the best that they can at any given point in their life? With the resources they have, with what they've learned and what they've experienced in life on any given day, are people doing the best they can?
That's deep. That's deep. I guess so. I would have to believe so.
Well, Miss J says not everyone.
Not everyone.
Yeah, Miss J doesn't believe everyone, and Miss Jones says yes and no. And I'm kind of with Miss Jones. I'm thinking yes and no. You know, a lot of times we want to say you educate people, you teach people how to do this, you teach people how to do that. And I say all the time, education does not necessitate change. And what I mean by that is people know, they can tell you what I need to do to lose weight, what they need to eat. They can tell you all that stuff, but people are still overweight. That's because that knowledge in and of itself is not enough to make somebody change. I think when I was younger, and I made the decisions, when I tell you I was so sure about the decisions I was making when I was younger, I really thought I was a certain person when I was younger. And it wasn't until I got older, even at this age, sometimes I reflected and I was like, dang, what was I thinking? Well, I'm going to tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking I was making a good decision. I was thinking I was making the best decision, because all I had to make that decision, to make an informed decision at that time, was whatever experience I had up until that point. So I was doing the best I could at that time. Now, I think I'm a pretty self-reflective person. So with me, I would hear what other people would say, and I try to process that and see if it fit and where it fit. And I think that's how change happens for me. But that's not everybody.
So how important is it?
How important is what?
How important is it to consider how other people feel about your actions?
And you know what? I was thinking about this earlier as we were talking. I think sometimes it's not about the feedback, but who the feedback is coming from.
You can say that again.
Yeah, not about the feedback, but who the feedback is coming from. And sometimes, I tell you what, I really believe that sometimes it's harder for us to accept feedback from our family than it is for us to accept feedback from our friends. And I think the reason that is because we're looking at some of what they do, and we're like, you got the nerve to be giving me feedback, you know. And sometimes your family, they think they know you, and so they make some assumptions,
right? And
then they miss this whole other side of you. But so I really do think it matters who is giving the feedback. Mr. Bird say, perfect example. I know I was stagnant in my work for the last year, but I was growing emotionally because I was going through a divorce. Mentally, I could not do both. I had to choose me. You know, that's a good point. I didn't think about that, because when we talk about growth, emotional growth is important. It is important. And you know what? We don't talk a lot about that. We did talk about like emotions before, but we didn't talk a lot about emotional growth. And I wonder how much emotional growth plays a part into personal growth. You understand what I'm saying? I wonder if how we feel about things, how we handle our emotions, dictate whether or not we are able to, one, accept the feedback others give us, and two, to move forward past whatever emotions we're experiencing.
I don't know.
So Miss Phillips joined us, and she said, yep. Not sure what she's saying yep to. I'm going to assume it to the part about it depends on who's giving the feedback.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I've been that person because I'm very ambitious and I'm very like like go getter, like I can do anything, like let's go. And I want to bring people with me and have this group of friends that all want to do the same thing, that want to grow and change together, and kumbaya. But it's like depends on who I'm speaking to, and then also that person is going to look at me depending on our relationship, but also on top of the other layer, they're going to see if you're already doing it. And it's like they don't want to do it together. They want to only want to pick up from somebody who's already done it. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not sure I do.
Oh.
I'm sorry. One moment, Christina. Welcome, Miss Megan. Oh, well, she disappeared. It looks like Megan was trying to join us.
Okay.
So Christina, can you kind of clarify what you were saying?
I don't even remember.
I think it was kind of like people growing together.
Yeah, we were talking about people growing together and just changing. We were talking about how much it matters what other people say, and I think that's what I was kind of going into. But it's a lot of different layers on who you listen to as far as how much it matters, and the relationship dynamic, whether you've done it or not. And, even just having that circle of friends around you is hard to have, and it's hard for people to listen to each other and grow up together. Because I know this is kind of weird because I'm kind of merging into another topic, but like this woman at work made a comment today. Black people don't look out for each other, and we don't really like grow together. So we won't. I feel like certain parts of our culture won't change because we're not trusting one another to do it together. Because it depends on who you're listening to. They only want to listen to the people who already get there, so they're going to give that person the credit rather than listening to somebody. So the motivation piece of who we're talking to and who we listen to is what I'm saying is what's going to cause the change. Does that make sense?
I think that's some of it, but also I'm thinking back to the birds of a feather flock together. And when I outgrow my flock, then I need to move on somewhere else. And I think that happens though. I think we outgrow our friends. I think sometimes we outgrow relationships. You have people that married their high school sweetheart. They've been together for a real long time. But then you have those others, and it just seems to be a trend or something, just something I've noticed lately, in that people that got married like in their 20s or something, then they hit their late 40s, mid to late 40s, and they start divorcing. And I think some of that might be about, we didn't grow together. They kind of grew apart. So there was some change happening. So I don't know if the change was one person was changing and growing and the other person was stagnant, like we've been here forever. This is how it's always been. So we good. So that they grew apart, or again, they just, like I said, grew apart. So
I want to something since you said that. So in a marriage, how do you make that work? Like, is it possible to live happily ever after? Or I'm not gonna say happily ever after, but till death do us part, if you growing and I'm not growing, and I can't see what's happening, or vice versa, as the other person. Is there a way to make that work?
I mean, I don't know. Just theoretically, I think that doesn't work. Just me personally, because I can really only speak for me. I think me and my ex, we grew differently. I think he grew, but I grew too. But we grew in different directions, if that makes sense. Yeah. So the way that we grew didn't complement each other anymore.
So what should people look at before they make their decision of getting married? Because I think that's one thing that kind of scares me. Like, what do you look at?
I don't know. And I don't know that I can answer that question, because what we're talking about is change. And I think the answer to the question is, do people change? The answer is yes, people change. People do change. And people say, well, that's not the person, he or she's not the person I met, or they've changed. Yeah, people do change. I think that's a part of life. People change. That's what happens. And then some people, I think the other thing is, some people that haven't been in these long relationships or these long marriages, I would caution them, be slow to get into some of these relationships, because the truth is, when you meet somebody, they putting their best foot forward. You're not getting the real person. You're getting the person they want you to see. They dressing up, they doing the hair, they doing the makeup. Whoever he is, he making sure his clothes clean, shoes clean, whatever, because they want to impress you. What you have to do is pay attention to those little things, those things you want to dismiss because you feel good about being with this person, or you like the way you feel when you're hanging out with this person. At that point, I think people start to overlook some stuff. And so when the person finally shows you who they are, you're surprised. But you know what? They were giving you little pieces of who they were from the very beginning. Don't be shocked. You just didn't pay attention.
You're cutting into some folks right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, while I do think people change, I think sometimes we miss who people are, and then we say, you changed. No, they didn't change. That's who they were. You just weren't paying attention. And at some point, let's get to the second part of this, which is, should you ask people to change? Should you ask people to be somebody different? Because I don't know of his age, but at this point in my life, I know what my negotiables are and what my non-negotiables are. There's just some things I'm not going to put up with. Like, I went out with this guy, and I tell you, he wear these paisley. I hope he ain't watching. He wear these paisley shirts. Oh my God, I just want to scream. Every time I see it, I just want to scream. But I guess I can tolerate that. But there's going to be some things I just will not tolerate. For example, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. You're not going to be disrespectful to me. And if you are, I'm not going to beg you to change. I'm not going to ask you to change that behavior. I might give you the benefit of the doubt at some point and say, okay, maybe they had a bad day. Maybe something's going on in their life right now. We're in the middle of COVID, people losing their job. There's a lot of things going on. So I might give you one pass. But if it happens again, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. So if you reflect on that and you use that to motivate you to change and be different, I tell you what, tell your next woman to call and thank me, because I ain't going to be there. So I appreciate you changing. I appreciate that you worked on yourself and you got that better. But for me, there are non-negotiables. And especially if you change that for me, you're going to need to make changes for yourself. When people tell me, I want to get clean for my kids, or I want to do this for my husband, or I want to do this for my daughter, I want to do this for somebody other than yourself, is there going to be a real commitment? Because true change is going to be motivated internally, not externally. Now, I will say that external motivation might start you, right? But once you get into that process, then sometimes it moves from being an external thing to being something you really want. And once it becomes something that you really want, then you committed to that. And you want that to be your life. You want that to be your personality. You want that to be your attitude. I'm going to read a couple of things in the chat. It says, you look for someone who will communicate their likes and dislikes openly, even when it hurts. This gives each person the chance to adjust or bow out gracefully. You know what? That is ideal. Unfortunately, everyone isn't on that same page, because people have their own motives and intentions for doing things. I have this thing I had on my wall in college, in undergrad. It said, hurt me honestly. Don't mislead me with a lie. Go ahead and tell me what you need to tell me. Let me know up front, what's what. So I can make a decision about what it is I want to do about the situation. Don't make that decision for me by just leaving me out and, leaving me blind. Ms. Jones says being able to love and support a person without requiring the sacrifice of part of themselves for you. Love doesn't hold. Ooh. Love doesn't hold, huh?
I'm sorry. What do married couples mean when you say, "Oh, y'all been together for 70 years"? Oh, what made y'all's marriage last so long? And some of them will tell you you got to learn how to compromise. I've heard that before. You got to learn how to compromise.
Yeah, and communicate. Compromise and communicate. I agree with that. But
so what's the difference?
What's the difference in compromising and communicating?
No, compromising and not asking the other person to change. Because ultimately, it's like, okay, I need you to change.
But if I'm compromising, then I'm allowing it to be. So, like the paisley shirt, I'm gonna compromise on that. I'll compromise. I'll let that go, or maybe something they like, or behavior. Let's say there's a behavior that works somebody's nerve, but in the big scheme of the thing, that little behavior that works your nerve doesn't compare to how they have your back and how they're there for you. So you let that go, you compromise on that. Or there's something you disagree on. Like, I want purple, you want blue. In the big scheme of things, how important is that? Can you let that go and just give me purple? Or is it really that important to you and not as important to me? So I'll give you the blue, and then, maybe the next time I can get the purple. So I think there's got to be some compromises.
Right. Okay.
But here's the other thing, and I don't know how people gonna feel about this. And Megan's saying something in the private chat. I'm gonna read it in a minute, but I want to say this. So you have some of these people that's been in marriages for years and years and years. They ain't all in that marriage. You understand what I'm saying? They might not be divorced. They might be in the same house. That does not mean they are truly together in that marriage. Because I know people that just want divorce because they don't believe in divorce, right? But then they're not happy, or they have, and not just the man, but could be the woman too. They each have somebody on the side, but they're in the same house and still got that piece of paper. Or, they're still in the same house and they barely talk to each other. They like roommates. Megan's saying you have to let that person show you who they are, not in such a rush. Everyone don't open up the same pace unless your connection, our bond is what connects you. Yeah. And I think like what Megan's saying, as I was saying earlier, you just have to take your time and really get to know somebody so you can see what you're dealing with. So then the question is, if you truly take the time to get to know somebody honestly, and there's and you see their flaws and they're not part of your non-negotiables, is it fair for you to ask somebody to change? Because truth be told, we all have something that somebody's not going to like. We do. Because we all have room for growth. We all have room where we can improve. So do I want somebody asking me to change? Especially if it's something that I've come to peace with, something that I'm okay with. And if it's something that you just can't deal with, then maybe it's time to detach. And I think that's where people have a hard time, where they see that something's not working for them. It's one of their non-negotiables, and they want to beat this person in their head to try to make them change, as opposed to just moving on and counting your losses. Especially if there's no real investment, there's no marriage, there's no kids between you. just begging people to change and hoping they're going to change and trying to manipulate them into changing. Um, I'm not so sure. So then the question is, instead of begging someone to change, what's the problem? What keeps us from just letting go?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. People don't want to let go. But what I was gonna say was, you take your time. It's kind of like buying a car or buying like this huge investment, because you're gonna look to invest in somebody long term. So I'm not gonna say everybody. Some people want short term relationships and they just out here having fun. But when you are thinking about marriage and long term relationships and things like that, it's like buying a car. You go to the dealership and you look at the different cars and you see what you have, and then when you see what you like, you take your time and you see, what does this person have, and you check it out. You don't say, that Jeep has a sunroof and this one doesn't, but I'm just gonna sit in this car right here. Oh, that Jeep has something else. So there's other stuff that you want in a person. You know that you prefer to have something else that's more reliable, reliable vehicle. But you stick with this vehicle that you know that you really don't even want.
Right.
You didn't have to compromise, especially in the beginning. There were certain things, because like you said, you're not you're not very invested in. It's like a light investment when you're just dating or when you're just together and you haven't taken the next step to marriage. And I know some people are going to disagree with that because everybody don't believe in marriage.
Yeah. Well, Megan is saying, I want to stay in a dating phase at least a year strong as getting to know each other before I give them a title. She says, also, sex should not be given up too soon. That is a distraction, in my opinion. And you know what? And I was reading something somewhere where it says that having sex in a relationship too soon confuses a person, because now they start to confuse feeling good and that sexual connection they misinterpret as an emotional connection or bond. So I thought that was really interesting. So not having sex or delaying sex in a relationship to get to really know that person, I think, like Megan says, gets rid of some of that distraction. So what you're really dealing with. It's really about our connection and not about something physical that we're confusing with something.
What was she
emotional.
saying about she would do what for at least a year?
She would stay in the dating phase at least a year before giving them a title. And Mr. Burr says that's what I mean by bowing out gracefully before one person becomes bitter and disrespectful to the friendship or relationship. And I guess that just goes back to people holding on for too long, trying to, stay in that comfort, staying with somebody they're comfortable with, I think is what happened. You want to stay with somebody, somebody you're comfortable with. And I think sometimes we long for what used to be. And sometimes what used to be will never be again. Why? Because people change. Because people change. So what you used to have, count it as a blessing, put it in your memory bank, something you can reflect on when you need a reason to smile. But when it's no longer there, you just have to know when to say when, as Mr. Burst is saying, so that you don't become bitter. And it's hard if you are in a marriage. That's really hard, especially if there's kids involved. There's a whole investment. There's things you share, maybe a house, maybe car, maybe loans, financial stuff. So it's not that easy. And I think it can get really ugly when you have all those things involved, especially when someone feels like they got the raw end of the deal. And I think that happens if you're the person making all the sacrifices, then yeah, you're going to feel like you got the short end of the stick. And we keep referring to relationships and marriages, but we have to remember some of this stuff happens in friendships too. Like I have some friends from school, mostly college, not necessarily high school, But I had some friends from college where I felt like we were really tight, right? And after some years, you can't jump back in there. If there hasn't been an ongoing growth where you're growing together and you know what's going on with each other, if that's not happening, when you try to reconnect, you'll see that this isn't the person that you were friends with before. This is somebody different because they've grown. You've grown. And unfortunately, you don't want to be seen as that same person you were in college, because that person to some extent was ignorant about a lot of things and wasn't mature, and I don't want to be seen as that ignorant and mature person. So sometimes you can't reconnect and pick up where you started off because people change. And Megan said, go on more dates, go on more trips, find things to do together. Also, balance your time evenly in every relationship with friends and family. It's about your foundation, is what Megan is saying.
There was something else she said about, I'm still stuck on the giving the title after the 1 year, because that made me think and made me question, is time relevant? Because I feel like different relationship goes at different paces and different time. It could be 3 years and then stuff finally start coming out. It's like, you know what? Now you begin to see, is a year really enough? I feel like when you connect with people and you rendezvous with people, you together have an experience that's going to cause you to grow. And I think it's inevitable. And when you get really tight with people, and I think that relationship is not going to end until you have grown and gotten what you needed for that person. That person got what they needed from you, and it's time. And then you continue on the venture in the other people.
Yeah, I don't know. I think relationships are very individualized. What works for one couple doesn't necessarily work for another couple. But Miss Sharon is saying something that I definitely agree with. She says, in my belief, and this is strictly my own opinion, not something I expect others to follow, sex is a very spiritual act, the ultimate bonding of a loving couple. And I agree with that. And Miss Sharon, I think that's one of the reasons, because it is a spiritual thing and it does bond people together. I think that's why introducing sex into a relationship too soon can cause more problems than not. And again, for my own reasons, I think that was the issue I had very early on. But we can get into that some other time, because I think it was the traumas that I experienced at an early age that contributed to some of that, not knowing the difference between love and sex. But even for those people that don't have a traumatic background, I still think that too often they're confusing those and not realizing that in a relationship, sex is a gift that you give to each other, and not just something you give freely. Because if it's just given freely, then it loses, I think, its meaning, because again, it's a very spiritual action, as she's saying. And Mr. Burr says, man, every day brings on opportunity to create something new. Yesterday is good to remember, but don't hold someone to the past, good or bad.
Yep, people change. You got to give them a chance. Even like people who are holding on to something from last week. Give people a chance. Like, you don't know what they went through from Tuesday to Thursday, or from Tuesday to Friday, and you see them on Saturday. They might be different. They might understand and fully get, the mistakes that they have made and have a change heart.
Right. So, and we're talking about give people a chance, but sometimes maybe you not letting go because of you, not because of that person. So then there's a opportunity for you to self-reflect, and the opportunity for you to grow when you can figure out, what's that about for me? Why can't I let that go? Why does that bother me so much? Why am I holding on to that so tightly? And the fact that I have a belief or I'm stuck on something may be creating some stagnation within me. It may be preventing me from growing and changing, so that I can accept something more into my life. Because sometimes if we don't grow and we don't change, then we don't prepare for more. That makes sense. We don't prepare for more in our life.
That's true. I feel like when you go through things, it prepares you. That's God, like I said, getting that strength, pumping you up, giving you that strength to handle what's coming next on the next level.
So
But I'll ask you something about when you said you were talking about relationships where people get the short end of the stick because they're the only ones growing, and it's like they're the only ones. It seems like at that point putting forth effort in the relationship. So at that point, should you then ask for change?
Can you give an example?
I mean, you were talking about asking.
What kind of change is what I'm saying? Are you asking them to change their personality? Are you asking them to change their work schedule to spend more time with you? Because I think it depends on what you're asking for. Some changes are easier to make. It's the
So you do think that there are times where you can't ask for change?
Well, Megan is saying no. Don't ask someone to change. And I don't know. So I think it depends on what you're asking. So some of you that's joined in for us, Christina has asked the question. What is it again, Christina?
If you're the one in the relationship that's getting the short end of the stick because you are the one that's growing, you are the one that, because of your growth, seems like the only person putting forth the effort, should you then ask for change? Is it okay to then ask for change?
Okay, so those of you joining us and commenting in the chat, if you would, what do you think? She wants to know if you're the person in the relationship that's growing and feel like you're getting the short end of the stick in the relationship, maybe because you're making all the sacrifices. At that point, is it okay to ask the person to change? And again, this does not have to be a male, female, sexual, intimate relationship. This could be your friend. This could be your boy. This could be your girl for life. You've been friends since elementary school. Who knows? So Damaya says, yes, you can then ask them for change. And I'm just gonna, when I see Miss Phillips' name, it makes me think of something. What if it's the situation where financially you're carrying everything? Now that can create a real burden for somebody. That can create stress. Stress can create health issues. Stress can create mental health issues because financial stress is real, and a lot of us have had that experience. So when someone refuses to work, or not pulling that weight with whatever for whatever the reason, can we then start setting some boundaries, saying, look, I'm paying all the bills, I'm doing everything, you're not working, I'm taking care of the kids. At that point, I'm thinking it's okay. I don't know if you're asking them to change or if you're just asking them to step up a little bit. I don't know.
That's still change. If you step up, that's asking you to rise above and grow. Do better than what you're doing.
Well, yeah. So I guess that is asking them to change. So it sounds like maybe for the sake of the relationship or for the sake of the friendship, you can ask someone to step up. Miss Phillips says, yeah, because people don't like to work and leave you with all the bills and the kids. So I guess at that point it is okay to ask someone to step up, because I'm wondering at that point, it's not about you just being nitpicky about your preferences, but it's about, we need to do this together. Because financially, if you're not both bringing some income, unless somebody's making real bank and you just don't need it, then it sounds like if we're going to grow together and get some of the things we want, then you're going to have to step up a little bit. Hello, Miss Leek. Miss Leek says, I think you can tell the person what you need, expect, and then see if it sparks a change. You're not necessarily asking for change, but letting them know what you need. They can change or not.
I agree with that. I feel like you can at least put it out there, and if they don't want to, then that's on them. At least you just like introduce an idea of how this dynamic could work. That's how I see it. This dynamic can work, but this is how I would see it. And then you can tell me this is how I see it. And I can agree or disagree, but because I see that you do it this way, and I don't really like it that way. So, but I just want to let you know. And so I don't know. Maybe they're just different ways of asking it. Like you said, like what are you asking for?
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting that now we up in your bank account. We up in Wells Fargo, State Employees Credit Union. That y'all think that now I can ask for change.
Well, look, I want to say Miss Jones thing.
Don't spend the money is more important than your emotions. It's more important than just the foundational parts of your relationship.
Hold on, wait a minute, Christina. Hold that thought. Miss Jones said, because her comment about the leave, I don't think it's fair to accept a person a certain way, then you change and then make them the villain because they're the person that you said you were willing to accept for better or worse. Well, well, Miss Jones, you starting something. Miss Jones trying to start something. I mean, she has a point, but at the same time, maybe at that point, at that time in your life, you were at the same place in your life. But I think just because I outgrow somebody, I shouldn't make them the villain. I shouldn't expect them to change. But if we grow apart, I mean, what do you do? Yeah. What do you do with that? And as far as your comment, Miss Christina, I think it's easier to bring in some income than it is to get me to change my attitude or change my personality or change my beliefs about something. I think it's easier to get me to step up to go make some money than it is,
That's not necessarily true because it depends on the situation. You don't know why that person's not working.
If I've been with somebody 3 years and you couldn't go to McDonald's or somewhere in those 3 years, you couldn't make some money, you couldn't do something. I don't know. Wait a minute.
Maybe they got.
Miss Sharon says, I agree. You are actually responsible to ask for change for financial abuse and illegal activity. She said, under those circumstances, you can ask somebody for change. And Mr. Burst agreed with that. And then Miss Phillips said, you really shouldn't have to ask. They know they have kids and bills. They just too comfortable living off of another person.
That part too. Like, do I really have to ask you that?
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole, that means there's a deeper problem there. And what could that problem be?
Well, Miss Phillips say you just leave. Again, that would be my, I don't know. Because my thing is, at what point do you just cut your ties and stop begging people or someone to be different? But yeah, so, and me and Miss Sharon kind of on the same page with some stuff. But yeah, I agree. There are situations to where you either need to expect change, ask for change, or you know what, you just get out.
Right.
You just get out. And that's what I'm saying, Miss Jones. She happened to pop up. It happened to pop up as I was saying it. With abuse, you don't ask for change. She said, change her damn address. Yeah, I'm not going to beg you not to talk to me a certain kind of way. Now, I don't want to minimize people in those situations because once you are in an abusive situation, truly in that, it's not that easy to get out of, which is why it's really important that you pay attention to who the person tells you they are in the beginning. Paying attention to those little things that it kind of catches your attention, something quickens in your spirit to say, whoa, wait a minute. Pay attention to that. Pay attention.
Let's stay in tune spiritually. Stay in tune spiritually.
Yeah.
So you can, I feel like spirituality takes a huge part of the relationship. I don't know, it's me personally. I feel like, you'll have answers. You'll know how to handle situations when you do that. And I think that's what helps causes a change or causes people to see clearer in relationships so that they can change what needs to change or either move on. I think that's what gives you the strength.
Well, listen, we kind of lost Megan on the thing, so I'm trying to call her to see if she wants to to say anything. She probably not recognizing the number.
Your call has been forwarded.
Yeah, I don't think she recognizes the number. But Miss Leek says, it all comes down to doing your research on that person, LOL. You need to know that person's history. You know what? I've said this before. I don't know what happened to house parties. I don't know what happened to your friends, knowing somebody, having single friends. But yeah, that at least if somebody knows them, they can say, girl, stay away from that person. Or, oh, he's a good guy. Well, for me, in this situation, he's a good guy. Miss Megan, I see where she's popped back up. Miss Megan, I'm trying to call you. Can you pick up the phone? Because we're struggling a little bit keeping you in this conversation.
I called myself trying to do research one time. I ran a background check, girl.
So we have.
I ran a background check. You got to get you a nice company because some of them ain't gonna tell you nothing. I was just playing.
Miss Bradley says my woe happens quicker. I'm not sure. Oh, it's when I say something quickens in your spirit and you recognize that you need to back up or, with this person. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Look, and I bet you that's experience, Miss Bradley. That's the experience that you're talking about. Hey, Miss Megan.
Hello.
Yeah,
hey.
I saw you were struggling. You kept trying to reach me in the chat, in private chat. So I was looking at that and looking at the other one. So I thought it might be easier to bring you in. Sorry, brought you in so late, but you have a chance to say some things. But so Miss Lee and Miss Bradley laughing at your background check. But you know what? Given what I do for a living and the population that I work with, I promise you, I look at everybody sideways. I try to make sure I get their names to make sure. I'm just saying the background check. I might not run a credit check. I don't care about that, but I do care about what kind of person you are. What people say, don't talk about old relationships. I tell you what, if you're a female and we bonding as girls, like friends, then I want to know where your other friends are. And if you start saying stuff like, oh girl, they this and they that, and you don't have any friends, it might be you.
Red flag.
It might be you. And then I want to know what happened with your other relationships. If it's an intimate relationship, I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say, oh, she was crazy, if all your girlfriends were crazy and you're the common denominator, no, honey, the change that needs to happen might be sitting right in front of me.
But are you judging her for her past?
I'm judging you because you don't have any friends right now. Now, if you don't have any friends right now, and you say something like I'm reflecting on myself, and you're accepting some ownership, and you see some potential for growth within yourself, that's one thing. Mm-hmm. But when everything is everybody else's fault, and you don't take any responsibility for that, then yeah, the change that needs to happen is sitting in front of me. Miss Leek says, know their friends, get background on family, parents. They may not know any better.
The thing is, we don't really interact with people like that anymore. And for me to ask somebody, oh, what's your last name? It's like, okay. Like back in the day, you used to know people first and last name. That's just how it was. Like
I met somebody, he gave me his initials. To me, that was a red flag.
JR.
I'm Junior.
I'll be WB. No.
Look, listen. You said you used to know people's last names, and I promise we're just going where the conversation takes us. So I'm going to say this. So it used to be, and I don't know if Miss Smith is still on here, but Miss Bradley knows what I'm talking about.
I already know what you about to say.
Look, I promise you, my sister, one of my oldest sisters, if you bring somebody new around, she's gonna ask you, did you go to Sherwood? And who your people? Just like that. who your people.
Who your people?
She want to know, and she probably gonna know. Oh, you such son, and what's his name, daddy? But she want to know, cause I promise you, at least twice, somebody's brought somebody around. She say that's your cousin, and she said you should know who you're dealing with, cause you would know their background. If you know their last name, if you know who their people are, then you know a little bit about where they're coming from. Now you can't judge everybody based on their family. Actually, you can't judge anybody, but I like Miss Leek is saying, you need to know, because some of what they're coming from, they're bringing some of those same behaviors on the family. They're bringing some of those same beliefs, but you also have to realize that they may have outgrown some of that stuff in their family. They may have outgrown some of the family what they call them curses. They may have broken some of those family curses. So you never know, but it's good to have some of that, because then you at least know kind of where they're coming from. And Miss Leek says, I need to know it all so I can let my family know if something happens, they need to know all this information. Yeah.
This was a good segment. This was a really good segment.
Yeah. I feel like the conversation's not finished, but it's been an hour. So
gonna be part two?
Yeah, it's been an hour, so we're gonna have to shut it down. But you know what? I am so grateful for all the people who commented, for all the people that joined us tonight and actually shared their thoughts with us. I think that's what EaseDrop is about. It's not about just Christina and I talking and Megan trying to share her thoughts and opinions. We're gonna have to keep you off of the link, Megan. It's about hearing from you guys. It's about everybody sharing their opinion. I'm not the expert. I'm not trying to be. I'm not pretending to be the expert. We are just talking. We are going where the conversation takes us. So I very, very, very much appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll be back in 2 weeks at 8:00. 2 weeks, Tuesday the 16th, March the 16th. Please, I'll send out some reminders, but please join us. And thank you, Miss Sharon. I truly appreciate your feedback and could agree with a lot of what you were saying. But again, so Miss Megan, anything you want to say before we shut down?
Just if everybody could also just get something they want to chat about, like if they got something on their mind, just shout it out so we can speak on it, or whatever. We all can share experiences or just anything that can be helpful.
Yeah, or pose a question, because that's how we sometimes come up with it. We think about a question and then we kind of go from there. So if you have a question that you want to throw out there that we can discuss as a group, I guess we call ourselves, then please let me know. Even if you don't put it in Promise Resource Network, hey, Evelyn Bradley, you can find me on Facebook and just send me a message. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Christina, what do you want to say? You want to close us out?
Huh?
You want to close us out? Something you want to say?
No, I think this was a really good segment. Like, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you all enjoyed it too. I just love having good, deep, meaningful conversations, and I think that's very important that we do this and that we have this. Sometimes we talk about like a lot of stuff that don't matter in the world. Sometimes we got to hit home first and really reflect and see what's going on with ourselves and check in with each other to see what's going on and just hear from one another. But this was good.
I really like that. Everybody got to share their experiences so we can all know how to, reflect or you have an idea how to deal with things. So it's really good that everybody come together and listen in and just hear how other people think sometimes.
Okay. All right. So Miss Sharon says she wants to know what my email address is for PRN. So a disclaimer, I don't actually work for PRN. I'm just a guest on the platform trying to share what I like to do. So But again, so you can reach me if you actually want to email me. You can email me at J as in Jack, S as in snake, EVELYN, the number 3 at gmail.com. Actually, I think I can type that in for you.
Three.
Yes.
Don't forget 3.
At gmail.com. Okay, so there you go. So there's my email address if you would like to recommend something. So we are 5 minutes over time. So everyone have a good night. Be safe, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.